So I just want to take a quick minute to go over something that is kind of my pet peeve. Even though I've dedicated my life to human potential, to positive psychology, to really the thought of everything that you think creates your reality, or if you think positively, things will shift in your life. But I also look at the reality that, this is human experiences. Sometimes we have challenges, sometimes we have situations and they suck. Whether it's financial, whether it's a problem in our relationship, whether it's a problem with our coworker that drives us crazy, whether we got fired or laid off, there are situations in our life that you can't control. But what do you do in situations like that if you can't maintain that positive thinking? Or should you even maintain that positive thinking? Well, I'm here to tell you that it is okay. It's okay for you to have those negative experiences. And actually, many studies show that people who are able to embrace those negative experiences and fully process those negative experiences, that you'll be much better off long term in how you deal with things in your life. We're constantly told, well, if a thought comes into your mind or if a situation happens, shift it right away. Think something positive. What can you bring out of it that's positive? And that's great. And I'm a big believer that you should do that. But in that initial onset, the best thing you can do is truly embrace some of those emotions and process that emotion. Because as you're doing that, what you're doing is you're creating that space within you for you to be able to release that emotion long term. Because what happens, let's say, if you quickly inhibit that emotion, you compress it way inside so you can't really feel it because you can't really think about it anymore, you kind of just put that in your unconscious mind. And what tends to happen with time when you do that? That unconscious thought, that unconscious feeling will come out and impact other things in your life. So what are ways that you can release? And I'm going to give you some keys for you to be able to release some of those negative emotions, some of those negative things that happen to you, not only short term, but long term. Because every time they come up, it's just like somebody asks forgiveness. And you could say you forgive them, but it doesn't mean that that emotion is not going to come back up. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have certain reactions to certain situations, because you still have that within you. But what can you do to slowly release it? Well, first of all, I want you to think about it from this perspective. Our mind needs symbols. Our mind needs ways and rituals for us to be able to let things go. For example, somebody might have a ritual of going outside and smoking a cigarette to release tension. That to their mind symbolizes that they're releasing tension, that they're ready to release tension. Or they can do something else, whether it's listening to a meditation, walking outside, or something like that. But when you're truly ready to release something that is causing emotional impact in your life, one of the best things you could do is either writing a letter. For example, you can tear that letter apart later on, you can burn it, you can do something, let it go in a balloon. Those are symbols that you're telling your mind that you're willing to let it go. Because when we have challenging situations, even if we can control them or not, there's two things that our mind does. And this is part of that unforgiveness that we have either for ourselves or someone else. We either try to punish ourselves, meaning, for example, if we messed up in a relationship earlier in our life and we get into another relationship and we feel like we were the cause of messing up that relationship, even if it's a great relationship, sometimes what we do is that we create obstacles within that relationship because we feel that we have to pay. Or on the contrary, if we feel like we can make it up, we'll do anything that we can to make that situation up. Because our mind either makes us pay for that situation or pushes us to do things to whatever extent that we have to make up for that situation. So what happens with that unforgiveness? Your mind needs to let yourself know that you're letting it go. You're letting go of that emotion. You're letting go of guilt. You're letting go of past tensions. You're letting go of the rewiring that your mind created during the situations, because especially negative emotions can rewire our brain quickly. So again, one of the things is that you can, one, write things down, be able to fully express them, or you can even sit in your car if you feel like screaming and you think it's not appropriate for you to scream. Go to your car, sit there, find different ways for you to express that. Scream in your car, grab the steering wheel or shake it up a little bit if that's what you need to do. Whatever you need to do, but you need to have an outlet. Because you see, we are creatures that need outlets. You can't just sustain happiness. You can't sustain a certain experience if we don't have outlets to let go of certain things. So you have to find your outlet. For some people, it's creative drawing. they'll sit back and do some coloring or drawing, and through that, and actually study some pedophiles, for example. They've been able to show that if they give them an outlet, their likelihood of actually repeating abusing children is very successful. And some of the outlet has been having them actually sit there and paint. Because as an emotion, for example, if you have a child that grows up and likes to see blood, if you don't give him an outlet, he might be able to do that dysfunctionally in society. But what if you can make him a surgeon, where he gets to actually cut things open, and does it productively to help people in society? Same thing happens with our emotions. How can we have outlets for our emotions? So again, once you experience them, release them, let them go, whether that's screaming, whether you feel like doing that, whether you feel like running. I remember when my brother passed away, way of releasing my emotion, it was raining, pouring raining, and I just got out there. I started running around the neighborhood. I took off my shirt coming straight from finding out, and everyone thought in my family that I was crazy, but it was a way for me to release that emotion. So once you find different ways to do that, to release it and experience it, then do something symbolic. Again, write it down, burn in a piece of paper, whatever you can do to make it symbolic. Whether you write it down in your computer and then say, I'm going to delete it. But as you delete it, say a statement. I am ready to let this go. I'm ready to move on. And something interesting might happen is that you might come to a place where you might have to do that more than once. But what do people do in our society? When the emotion comes up, they start wondering, what's wrong with me? Why haven't I let this go? So they beat themselves up for it. And by beating yourself for it, you actually make the situation worse. Because we've been told in our society that there's a quick fix. There's a quick McDonald's fix. Go to the drive-thru in 5 seconds, they already have your burger and french fries. Everything else in life has to be a fast fix. But realistically, our emotions, the way that we see things, do not have to be a fast fix. They can be, but many times they're not. So if it comes up again, what do? Again, you express it. You find a way to release it again. And you keep doing that until you come to that place where you're no longer impacted. Another powerful tool that I found that I think is key is once you initially have that experience where you feel it, is that you start developing a purpose and meaning behind it. And how do you do that? You ask yourself simple questions like, what can I learn from this experience? How can this experience help shape my life or make my life better? What could I do different if I had that experience again? What can I teach others about that experience? Because sometimes, and you've probably heard this before, one of the best ways for you to become an expert is to teach. And you might say, well, I'm not ready to teach about my own pain. Well, I'm not ready to teach about, what I've been learning. But realistically, there's always somebody that can learn from your lessons. You're never too low or too high to be able to be a teacher for anyone. Ask yourself this, if you went through the experience a year ago, could you teach someone that just went through that experience? Of course you can. I had a person that I was working with that was sexually abused at a young age. And she had that pain and she did a lot of stuff to release and kept coming back to it. And I could say that now she's actually let that go and she's created success in her own life, graduated after, pretty much going through a process of failing college, now became very successful. And really she did a lot of reflection. She did a lot of releasing, a lot of forgiveness through that process. But at the same time, she saw that she had a bigger purpose, that she, even though she wasn't fully healed yet, she can already start helping people heal. And by helping those people heal, what did she do? She got to a place where she can see that it had a purpose and meaning in her life. Same thing happened when I had to deal with friends and families that had passed away that were very close to me. As I started helping people that had people close to them pass away, same thing happened that I started to see a purpose. As I started talking at colleges and high schools or even mentoring people that were having struggles in middle school and elementary school, me saying, yeah, I was there. Yeah, I failed my first year of college. Yeah, I had challenges in school, but I was able to overcome that to find something different. I started to see that some of that pain that I had experienced had a purpose and meaning, that it made me a better person. So what I'm trying to tell you is that I do believe in positive thinking. I believe that it's transformed my own life. And I've seen how it's transformed thousands of people's lives that I've seen come, whether through my workshops or courses or whatever it is. But at the same time, I'm also here to tell you that you have to be realistic, that you have to be open to sometimes not feeling great. You have to be open to saying, I hate this experience, but I'm going to embrace it, because embracing it means I'm willing to let it go. Because our emotions are red flags. And in our society, they say, take a pill for that. In our society, they tell us, oh, do something right away to forget. But our emotions are red flags. Our emotions are our greatest teachers. Just like if you put your hand on top of the stove, what happens? You burn your hand. And that tells you that I got to pull my hand back, doesn't it? That's a teacher right there. But the same thing's with our emotions. When we feel frustrated, when we feel angry, when we feel confused, when we feel depressed, that's a red flag trying to teach us something, trying to tell us that we need to be aware of something in our lives at a much deeper level. And if we can listen to those red flags, that's where transformation happens. But sometimes you have to actually go dig deep in there to truly understand what that red flag's trying to tell you. And once you can do that, you can see that your life can shift rapidly. So I hope that's able to help you. I wish you much transformation. I wish you purpose and meaning. And I wish you much success in everything that you do. Thank you.